Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Wednesday evening, we're halfway through the week. Christmas is coming up fast. Am I prepared? Not a hope. It just is what it is, and I will get there eventually. Um, but I was having a thought today about how are we going to live? And the reason I had the thought was I saw a report about an old building in Manchester. It showed you the sort of entranceway on the corner of a building. And it was, I don't remember the wordings exactly, but it was something like working women's shelter. And there was a link to a page, which I didn't look at because I was at work. Um, but it basically was a place where, in days of old, when women could not get accommodation very easily, and also when they got wages so much less than men, I mean, they were barely able to live on the wages. And this place had opened, and seemingly it had the kitchen, it had the laundry, and the ladies slept in like cubicles. And that was how they managed to support themselves because their wages were lower than the average, and there was a lot of like boarding houses, etc., who would not let out two single females. And if they went to like shelters or something or the workhouse, um, that's when they were in danger of being led astray, shall we say. And I was like, we need that now. We need something like that now. And the thought process was going through my head, going, don't be silly, Karen, you don't possibly need something like that now. That's why. And then I was like, no, there is what they call a studio in the UK nowadays. In my days, it was a bed sit. When I stayed down in London, I stayed in a bed sit, which was a room with like a sink and a chair and a bed, and that's basically what this is. And it's one room. It's a very small room. Doesn't particularly have cooking facilities, um, and it's £275,000 for this little tiny tiny bed sit because it's like looks over Harrods or something. And I'm like, do you know who in the right mind thinks that's decent value for money? And you're paying all that money for a room probably smaller than my kitchen, and that's your life. And granted, that explains why in the big cities you have a lot more people going out. Like I took, I was quite shocked when I first started seeing Patrick and I went down to London. And he's like, "Oh, we'll go out for breakfast." What do you mean we'll go out for breakfast? You don't go out for breakfast. You do in London, especially if you live in a bedsit, which Patrick didn't. He had a two-bedroom flat. But you imagine how many youngsters were there, even in my day, who are in a small room and that's their life. So they go out for breakfast, they meet up with their friends for breakfast, they go out for lunch, they go out for dinner because they don't have the facilities to eat properly in their room, bedsit. Now, obviously, a studio. And I was like, well, what's going to happen? Because there's so many properties have been split into these homes of multiple occupation, which is when they turn houses into bedsits. Now, I know that where Patrick was in London, his two-bedroom flat, there was a few of them had been bought round about and split into 3 or 4 bedsits. Wasn't a big a flat, but that's what they did. So there's a multitude of bigger properties have been chopped into smaller ones, and then they're getting chopped into even smaller ones. But there is still such a severe housing shortage. And, excuse me, um, as my thought process kept going, and I was like, Actually, that place for women with the cubicles and all that, they're already doing that in the cities. It's a luxury flat, but it's shared kitchens, you've got a gym, you've got a games room, etc. You've got a laundry down the stairs. So it's not actually a flat as such. It's not, you're not self-contained. So that's actually already started. It's just that you're not in cubicles now. You're in luxury rooms. But I don't think it'll be long before someone decides, oh, let's just have the slightly less luxurious version of this. Which brings me to the, how are we going to live? Because there's so many people now who are staying with friends or family, who are struggling to afford to rent somewhere. There's so many properties that are in such a bad state of disrepair that nobody wants to live there anyway, or they're going to have to get redone. Now, how is this going to play out? Where are people going to live? Are we going to get back to these places for single people? If you're working, then you go and have this little cubicle in a shared space for your laundry, for your kitchen, etc. Now, I know that there was a place I knew years and years ago, and it was like a hotel, but it wasn't a hotel, it was like a seaman's place. And it basically, you had your bedroom, and you had your own shower at one side, and your toilet at the other side. So it was just a rectangle. You had the wardrobe there, you had the bed there, then you had a space in the middle with a desk, with some drawers, and then you had the toilet at one side and the shower at the other side. And that's where a lot of people stayed. It was for ex-seamen, and that was where they lived. I don't think it'll be long until there's a lot more of them going about. And I think that's sad in a way, because in my day when you were young, you could go out and you could get a bed sit, and then you got a flat, when you came up off of being like the office junior. Once you became like an administrator or something, or an office person or whatever, you could rent your own little flat, and then you saved up enough for a mortgage. That's not happening now. We're actually going backwards in what we're able to get for what we have. And I think that's going to be a big problem in the future. And I don't think anyone's got a proper answer for it, because all I'm seeing in the UK, no matter where in the UK, is, oh, we need to build more houses, we need to build more houses, but nobody is. Certainly not in the numbers that's needed. So where are we all going to stay? And that is my question for the day. So now I am going to go and relax, because I have literally just finished my dinner, and I made homemade chips in the air fryer, so I ate so many of them. I'm feeling so fat right now. But I thoroughly enjoyed them. So I shall go and leave you in peace, and I'll catch you later.